Hi, this is Max Hawthorne. You probably know me best as the author of the Cronus Rising series of novels. I am also occasionally someone who does research into paleontology and even cryptozoology. I'm taking a break from my writing, and I would like to discuss an intriguing video, which we'll be looking at momentarily, that was posted on the Facebook group Carcharodon Calcareus on November 30th. As you can see on the screen, it has the name Scratchy on it, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. I am assuming that that is the videographer, and of course we want to make sure he's credited for this. Before we get started, also, let me just say up front that I am ad-libbing this whole thing. There are no edits. This is straight out of the can, so to speak. So please forgive any stammering, stuttering, or momentary lapses of thought that might take place. It's a fascinating topic, and I want to play the video first so we can get a quick look at it. I'm going to stop it here and bring it back to the start. There's a little more we'll be looking at also. Basically, what we're looking at here is the footage of an injured killer whale. And this is going to be a fascinating topic. The whale appears to be sick or distressed. You can tell by the way it swims. In fact, let's look at that again. You can see with the way it's moving, it is badly injured, covered with lacerations. I guess first and foremost, let's actually look at the injuries, because I want to see where people's thoughts are in terms of this. So, playing along, let's freeze right about here. You can see we have a series of lacerations here, here, a bunch over here, here, and then on the right pectoral fin. In fact, part of the pectoral fin has been removed. So you've got multiple injuries to the fin, a large chunk of it, I'm going to say bitten off, but we'll get to that in a minute, and then numerous injuries on the dorsal region and on the flank over here. Now, keeping in mind, of course, this is a killer whale, so let's discuss the possibilities of what might have happened to this animal. I posted something on a few groups to try and get some feedback from people, and there's been the usual suggestions. Some people have said that it was a boat prop, some said it was caused by a net, a shark attack, of course, essential megalodon, more likely candidates another orca, and even a sperm whale. So I'm going to look at those bit by bit, one by one, and let's see what we've got here. See if I can back this up a smidgen here. Actually, no, I think this is better. So first and foremost, let's talk boat prop. That is definitely not the case. These injuries here are small, numerous, and of varying depth. They have little drag marks to them, which we'll discuss here. They're here, they're here, they're here, they're here, they're here, they're all over. If this had been a propeller, the wounds would have been differently shaped, they would have been deeper, they would have been more uniform, slicing along its length. They also would have damaged the fin, which of course, as you can see, has not been damaged. This is definitely not a propeller, nor Jack the Ripper, as the saying goes, etc. A net is another possibility. Once again, no, the animal does not have injuries to its head, does not have injuries to the rest of its body. It has these specific injuries that curve around. This indicates that something actually impacted on it, and it looks more and more and more like some sort of bite marks. And I think that's what we're looking at. Definitely not a prop, not a fishing net, but some sort of attack on this animal. Now, the known possibles. Shark. Let's discuss that first. These are not shark bites. They're not shaped like shark bites. They do not excise flesh like a shark would. These are grazing bites that look like teeth that sank into the animal's flesh and then grazed along or dragged along as the animal attempted to bite. That's not indicative of a shark bite in any way, shape, form, or fashion. You don't have the semicircular shape to it or anything else like that. In fact, over here you could see this is actually wedge-shaped. So a shark is out, and that includes, of course, the perennial megalodon. Another possibility was an orca. These do not look like orca tooth marks orca teeth are more closely spaced together. These teeth are probably 4 inches apart on a guess, maybe more. Whatever bit this animal was substantially larger than it, and it did not have teeth like an orca, not specifically, let's put it that way. Orca teeth are designed to penetrate, they're slightly curved to hold on, and as the animal bites so that it can shake its head, try and wrench a piece loose, things of that nature. This is a different type of animal we're looking at here, in my humble opinion. The one animal that I thought was the most likely candidate might have been a sperm whale. There have been incidents where sperm whales have fought orcas that were attacking them. You would think possibly that this killer whale might have been attacked by a sperm whale while it was trying to perhaps feed on its calf or something like that. But we run into multiple problems with that. The first is, of course, that this dorsal bite is on the top here, shows tooth marks. Sperm whales only have teeth in the lower jaw. So one could say, well, the orca might have been upended, inverted, swimming this way, etc. But you also have tooth punctures that are too fine to be that of a sperm whale, too closely put together. Sperm whale teeth are blunt. They would have not made an impact like this, a bite shape like this, I'm sorry. And also, the shape is wide here and then tapers. This does not look like a sperm whale's jaw, which is parallel like that. So, I mean, that's out. And then also, of course, you have some flesh has been removed here as well. I can't picture a sperm whale's blunt teeth being able to shear off a piece of flipper. It just doesn't seem to make sense. But I will say this, though. These are definitely bite marks of some kind. It becomes more and more obvious as you look at it. So the question is then, what did this? So before we get into that, let's take a few more moments to look at the animal itself and get a little more info. The first thing that we can tell automatically is that this is a female killer whale. We know that by the short and curved dorsal fin as opposed to the tall sail-like fins of the adult males. We can also infer something else, which is sadly that this whale is suffering from malnutrition. This whale has what they call a peanut head. The snout is beginning to stick out. It's losing some of its melon here, and this occurs with orcas that are starving to death. This animal is very malnourished. It has lost a lot of weight. Its belly is concave over here. It is definitely either unwilling or unable to feed. Now, the next question is, well, is this a lone orca? Maybe that explains it. But then we look over here as we watch this animal swimming along, and you'll see something else. At the bottom, right about there, is a large and well-fed, you can see the girth, bull orca that is accompanying the wounded female. So we know right here she's not alone. She has an escort, she has protection, yet even so, she appears to be unwilling or unable to feed herself. With the assistance of other members of the pod, you would think that would not be the case, and the male is definitely not suffering from malnutrition, so we're not dealing with a situation where the animal is, where there's no food, basically. Interesting stuff. Let's talk about the bites. Now the bites, as I mentioned, are wedge-shaped. You can see this. Boom, boom. Here, here. This we'll get into in a second. The teeth that did this were sharp, but due to the whale's girth, a killer whale is a bulky, a massive animal, the attacker had a hard time really digging in. Its gait must have been really pressed, stretched out there in order for it to clamp down on this whale. This would seem, honestly, to indicate something that was along the lines of maybe a crocodile. But, well, again, we're talking about Orcinus orca here, the killer whale, and not a lone one. There isn't a crocodile alive big and bad enough that would have attacked this animal, and of course, out in the open sea. Oh, and I would stop a moment to mention, I have tried to ascertain where this video was filmed. Unfortunately, I haven't gotten an answer back in terms of that, but when I do, of course, we will issue an update. Let's look at some stills that I made from this video. Actually, I think they will be useful as we move along. This is a shot of the animal first swimming. Let's move down here, here, here. Okay, so I'm going to stop here for a moment. This initial bite here is actually 2 bites. You can see a row of teeth here. You can see a second row of teeth here, and they're doubled up here and here. What appears is that when this animal was struck, the attacker clamped down on the dorsal region here. It may have shaken its head trying to shake the orca to kill it. It may have had to adjust its grip because obviously the orca would have been struggling for its life, but it at one point clamped down a second time as the attack was taking place. We also know that the whale was struggling ferociously and that the attacker's jaws slipped to the front, because you can see where the tooth punctures here, we see grooves here, 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 all over where the teeth actually ripped as they started to come loose. We also see this on the flipper region. Let me see if I can get a better shot of that. You can see a huge chunk of that flipper is missing right there. You have the same type of thing. You have grooves here, 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 and slips where the fangs of whatever bit into this whale bit down, and then also where they actually severed the end of this pectoral fin. This is a bad injury. Let's not make any mistake about that. Besides whatever internal injuries this animal suffered, and you can see how slim and slender it is here, especially compared to the male from not eating. But if you and I lost all the fingers on one hand, and obviously didn't get to go to the ER, this would be a pretty serious injury. So this whale definitely has been suffering. So again, now the question breeds, what did this? Now, as crazy as this is going to sound, we have to go with the old adage, if you eliminate all the possible, the impossible, as they say, comes up. So if it's not a known species, an extant one, then we have to figure out maybe it is an unknown species or something that once existed and is not supposed to anymore. Based on numerous sightings, the most likely candidate that attacked this whale is some sort of, quote, extinct marine reptile. Now, everyone knows the books I write, and everybody knows how much I love my pliosaurs, but realistically speaking, when I look at these punctures here and here, etc., I don't think we're dealing with a pliosaur. The tooth marks are too small, they're not deep enough to be a pliosaur. Realistically speaking, and I'm going to go out on a limb and say this, but the evidence seems to be here, I propose that this whale was attacked by some sort of mosasaur or mosasaur-like animal, marine croc, something along those lines. I know, it sounds impossible, but there have been many sightings of animals like this, including the Carnival Cruise monster that I investigated last year. We had an eyewitness on a cruise ship who witnessed a mosasaur-like creature swimming along parallel to his liner that he estimated its head alone was 15 feet long. That was in the middle of the Gulf of Mexico, by the way. So, this is more than just a sighting of a creature. This is the smoking gun right here. I mean, we're looking at it. There's no, like that finback whale in the UK in 2012, it rolled around in the surface, it was dying when it beats itself, and it injured itself, it rolled on something and created those, what looked like tooth punctures on it and stuff like that. By the way, for the record, that finback whale was also malnourished. But this is not that. This is a living, breathing animal which, as we can see, has obvious bites on it, and bites that do not appear to match any living creature. However, they do match this. This is a species of Prognathodon. It, along with Mosasaurus hoffmanni, were among the largest of macropredatory mosasaurs. The teeth on this animal would be very likely candidates for the marks on the orca, and as you can see, it has that wedge-shaped head to it. Of course, as we know, Mosasaurs have been extinct since the Cretaceous, right? Maybe, maybe not. Now, moving along, let's just go out on a limb here and say possibly that there is a Mosasaur out there, and that it did this. How could this have happened? How big was the attacker? Well, let's first off look at how the attack may have taken place. We look at the bite, the dorsal here, and let me actually go back this way. I surmise that Mosasaur or whatever did this, the animal was struck, boom, from the side. Grabbed here, probably shaken. A lot of animals do that when they see something to try and kill it, break its neck, further the injuries, things of that nature, shatter its spine. The orca struggled, of course, fighting for its life. I mean, this is a apex predator itself. The animal that was attacking its grip probably had to shift at one point and eventually tore free. And keeping in mind, of course, this is a killer whale. We know that it wasn't a lone animal because you see another member of the pod, which, of course, orcas fight or attack large prey items like other whales, etc. in concert. They're like a wolf pack. Other members of the pod are not going to stand by and let this cow that was targeted be attacked and killed. We can only assume that they jumped in, and probably that's the reason why whatever bit into it lost its grip as well. Another thing that would have been happening, however, is there was a second strike to the orca's chest and abdominal region. And I would point out that the attacker, of course, seemed to favor strikes that would avoid the killer whale's powerful jaws. So this bite came in here, where it eventually excised that flipper. And something that people don't notice, originally I used to think this was an orca raking bite, is this and this was the same bite. So the attacker struck here, bit down here, was not able to fully get a good grip again because of the girth of the animal, and then when the orca broke free, you could see the shred marks here. These teeth were dug in right there, and then they dragged as the orca pulled free, dragged here, here, and here. They probably clamped down again, trying to hold on, and bit clean through the pectoral fin here. This would, of course, been added to by the orca fighting for dear life and trying to break free, and it obviously escaped at the cost of part of its flipper. Now, another thing I want to point out is this may have been more than one, quote, Mosasaur. It may have been attacked by two animals simultaneously, and if you check into the lists of sightings, there are several where people saw two of these creatures acting in concert. There was an incident, I believe it was off the coast of Scotland recently, where somebody from shore saw a whale carcass in the shallows and said that a large Mosasaur-like creature grabbed the carcass and dragged it with tremendous speed into deeper water, upon which a second of its type surfaced, and they began to tear away at the carcass and rip pieces out of it, etc. So if these animals hunt in pairs or even packs, it makes it even more of a threat, even to a pod of orcas. But maybe this is their attack method. Then, of course, there's the emaciated state of this orca that survived the attack. Now, it's a known fact, once again, if we're looking at a possible living mosasaur, mosasaurs are basically marine monitor lizards. And if we look at the Komodo dragon, for example, we know that it is a venomous creature. This thing bites prey as large as a water buffalo. They used to think the slobber was a bacteria, but now they know it's some sort of venom, and eventually, within a day or two, the creature dies. So I don't know if that's the case here, although this orca definitely looks sick. If we go back to the video, full screen it, I mean, is it this bad just because of the wounds? Did it suffer internal injuries, blood loss? Why isn't it not eating, though? Maybe there's something to that. Maybe chunks of flesh, rotted flesh from the attacker's jaws got into it and it's suffering from sepsis. Anything is possible. But we're definitely dealing with a very stressed, very badly hurt, and very malnourished animal right here. last but not least, I would actually point out something that I haven't yet, and this goes along with my theory about the bite over here. When this bite took place, and I believe this is the bite that was the last one before the orca escaped its attacker or attackers, here it bit down, right here, this bite slipped that way, the fin came off. There is a third bite right here. You can just barely see right there. There's a tooth rose here, tooth rose here, and you can see once again the teeth dug in and then dragged as the animal propelled itself forward. I'm going to go back to the stills and see if we can see that. You can see them here and here. There again, there again. So this, once again, here, you're dealing with a wedge-shaped set of jaws. I believe that when the attacker lost its grip here and bit off a chunk of this, it made a last slashing attack at the fleeing orca. Its teeth just started to sink in, and then it lost its grip on the slippery cetacean as it pulled away. We're looking at a cow. I mean, most orca females are somewhere in the 16 to 23, 24 foot range. So this cow is probably an average of 20 feet long. That leads us to the question then, how big, of course, was the supposed mosasaur that attacked this killer whale? Well, if I go on jaw structure and measuring from here to approximately here for that, add on the rest of the skull, you're looking at an animal with a head at least 8 feet in length. This would indicate a mosasaur of approximately 60 feet. Again, a dangerous adversary, even for a pod of killer whales. This would have been one hell of a melee and something worthy of, well, of a Cronus Rising book, not to sound self-serving. That is my conclusion. As fantastical as it seems, and unless another better explanation could come along for something with wedge-shaped jaws, with fang-like teeth that form a pattern like this, and that can explain what attacked this killer whale, it would seem to me that we are looking at the possibility that we have a small relic population of living, quote, dinosaurs inhabiting our oceans. If that is the case, if this is the smoking gun that actually lends some credence to the numerous sightings that have taken place, I think steps need to be taken to discover these creatures, and I would sure as heck love to see one. This is Max Hawthorne. Have a great day.